Curran Bhatia here with Amer Abdallah. Amer, we know we're here for the launch, the kickoff here of MF Pro. Huge fight to start it off, Deontay Wilder versus wilder-chisora. So how did this all come together?
First of all, I'm a big fan of everything that you're doing. I know you've been in the sport for a long time, so much kudos to you and everything you have going on. Look, it's a fun fight. As a boxing fan, when you look at a big fight that you want to see, sometimes some of these fights that you see statistically, stylistically, it's not a fun fight. It's an important fight, but it's not a fun fight. This fight, on paper, in action, will be one of the funnest, most action-packed fights out there in boxing. Both guys coming up on their 50th fights, which is why we dubbed it 100. Wilder-chisora, relentless pressure, almost have a resurgence at these last 3 fights in his career, where it's almost like he found the fountain of youth and coming back with great, masterful performances in his last 3 fights. And then Deontay, you're going to expect a knockout with Deontay Wilder. He's knocked out all but one of his opponents throughout his career. And now, 100 fights, it's just going to be such an amazing fight. I have a great relationship with both guys. They're both, I consider them brothers and friends. Yeah. So when Derek and I talked and he said, listen, can you make this fight happen? I said, of course. 5-minute conversation with Derek, 10-minute conversation with Shelly Finkel, done deal. The fight was made, within a half hour, 45 minutes. And the rest was just, paperwork and logistics and all of that. And very glad to have landed it on DAZN worldwide. And it'll be an amazing fight. April 4th, it's going to be fireworks.
I spoke to wilder-chisora, and he said the reason that it got done so quickly is because of exactly what you said. He spoke to Deontay Wilder, and they both wanted the fight to happen. And I think, to your point, it's going to be extremely exciting. When you look at Deontay Wilder, 44 wins, 43 of those by knockout, which is absolutely incredible. And of course, wilder-chisora has been in there with everybody.
Yeah.
And he's still hungry. He's still motivated. So is Deontay. So I think this is going to be a fantastic fight for as long as it lasts. 2 heavyweights with power. Let's talk about your ambitions with this promotion and everything you want to do. I know you have big plans, so can you share some of those plans?
Sure. I'll share as much as we can disclose. Okay. I have a great team in Nissa and Kelly Sauerland, the Sauerland brothers, who now represent Wasserman Boxing, who've been in boxing forever and have 50 world champions that they've created and counting. Mams Taylor, who really started the Misfits brand with KSI, who's the other partner. Genius in his creativity and his storytelling. And then you have, of course, the social media powerhouse in KSI. It's a very unique team that we have put together. Right. And they had the Misfits brand. And for that space, it's great. For the influencer side of the world, it's great. It's just not my cup of tea. I'm more of a traditional boxing guy. Even though I was involved with JJ, it was KSI, and his Logan Paul fight, and we helped with the camp. Once I kind of gravitated into what Misfits is now, I kind of separated and just focused more on the regular traditional boxing. So when Mams and I were talking and they wanted to really focus on the pro side of it, I said, what we'll do is we'll separate the two. You'll have Misfits, which is the influencer boxing, and then MF Pro, which will be the professional boxing. And we'll take the pros that they have signed under the Misfits and move them over to MF Pro. And then every MF Pro show that we have will be the traditional boxing. So our Inception event, how much bigger can you start than with Chisora versus Wilder, right? So, and that's what we're launching. April 4th, O2 Arena is going to be, I hope, and my plans, God willing, is that we start big and we stay big. We have a lot of signings that are coming up right now. We have a great stable of 6 to 8 up-and-coming prospects that are top prospects. We just signed Vidal Riley, huge UK star, which I think is going to be the face of the UK boxing. God willing, absolute, almost guaranteed world champion based on his trajectory. He's coming up in his skill set and his skill level. So Amir Anderson, Jahan Ingram, Ashton Sylvie, David Dynamite Lopez, who's just a phenom. So we've got a lot of up and coming talent here. Cultivating those prospects, cultivating the event and the social media management, and then putting on huge fights. We're going to tie all of those together and put on, God willing, some great events for the US and the UK.
That's what I was going to say. It seems like you're leveraging what has worked for influencer boxing, which is they are able to get more eyeballs, which is what we, of course, want. We want to see more eyeballs in this sport. And
sure.
Folks like Jake Paul and what they're doing, they are gravitating more people to the sport. And you can see that in the numbers by putting on these entertaining events. So you're taking that concept and also throwing in now professional boxers who have competed at the highest level. And we're getting that in event one. So I think that's a fantastic plan there. I wanted to ask you about your background. I know that not only are you a promoter, but you've competed in combat. And so I was curious if that gives you a little bit of an advantage as you play, promoter here, matchmaker, strategist, in that you know what these fighters are thinking going into these big events.
No, that's a fair question. And I always say that I've touched every part of this sport. I don't want to ever call it success. I would say I think why I'm comfortable in every position that I played is because I owned a gym for 15 years. I coached teams. I was in the corner. I fought myself. I was a promoter. I was a manager. There was a point in time when I was creating the posters for my events. I was matchmaking my events. Of course, I used to use a different name so that people wouldn't know it was me matchmaking for myself. I would sell the tickets. I would sell the sponsorships. I would label the seats in the arena. I would set up the ring, and I would fight on the card.
Wow.
So I've touched all of these parts of the sport. And gravitating to now, like Derek today. Derek and I have a family-based relationship. It's not just a friendship. Our kids play with each other, our wives are friends. But today, Derek is short with me because he's in fight mode. I get it. Mm-hmm. If maybe I wasn't a fighter, I would say, man, why are you being such a jerk, But he's in fight mode.
Yes.
So I get it. So I take a step back. You got it, champ. Whatever you need, champ. Whatever you got. I know what his mentality is, and you know what? I want him in that mode. Mm-hmm. Because if he was too nice and too passive, he might not be the guy that we expect him to be April 4th. But no, it absolutely gives me a lot more insight into the sport. When I talk to Shelly, when I talk to different promoters, I know what their mentality is and what they're looking for because I played those roles also. So thank God, I had the opportunity and the blessing of being able to touch a lot of different aspects of the sport, and it allows me to gravitate forward into the sport.
100%. It reminds me of, I interviewed Jelena Mrvjenovic, who's an excellent women's champion, and she said early in her career, she had to do all those things and pay her opponent to fight her just so she could get the opportunity. And you think about the work that's required when you're starting out. And now you're bringing that infrastructure, obviously, here to this. So it's obviously a bright future ahead. I know you spent time, we mentioned Jake Paul earlier. Reminds me, of course, when he fought Mike Tyson. I know you spent time with Mike Tyson, and we've seen everything Mike Tyson, of course, did in terms of being larger than life, transcending boxing, and just being an everyday everyday conversation, a household name, of course. What have you learned from Mike Tyson?
It's funny you say that. I have on my notes a separate note page that says Mike Tyson sayings, and it's a list that I can remember over the past 12, 15 years that I've been with Mike. But every time I'm around him, he drops a new jewel. He drops this golden nugget of information. Mike's such an insightful person. He's so wise. He's very perceptive. Mm-hmm. And a lot of people look at him and they think, he's just this knockout artist guy, street guy. He might be that, but he's also tasted the other side and very intellectual, very insightful, very wise. Mm-hmm. And when he speaks based on experience. He speaks based on knowledge. He speaks based on his life and what it was. I mean, imagine being in the spotlight at 19 years old, where the whole world was watching with a microscope every single move that you did. And then at 58 years old, you're asked about what you did in your 20s. Like, come on, man! Like, we're all embarrassed about some of the stuff that we did when we were younger. And this guy just had a microscope on him, so he's gone through the trials and tribulations and turmoil of the media, of unforgiving fans, of where he was. He was the most loved, then he was the most despised. Now he's back to being the most loved. He's recreated himself. We did an event in New York 5 years ago or so, and there was a young lady. She was probably in her early 20s, and I said, "Yeah, we're bringing Mike Tyson to a meet and greet." She goes, "The guy from The Hangover." And I was like, "What? No, like the youngest heavyweight champion of all time."
Yeah.
He's recreated himself in so many different angles. But Mike's got an interesting announcement coming up here soon. Another, huge project that he's involved in, and that hopefully that'll get announced here soon.
Yeah. I saw his one-man show here in New York. So he's done so many different things. Everyone has a plan until they get punched in the mouth. That's probably the saying that you hear everywhere, and obviously that was one of the Mike Tyson isms. So to close it out, you're launching this promotion. We have this huge heavyweight fight. With everything you've done, you've touched combat sports in so many different ways. So I'm curious. You teased a little bit there about some of the ambitions and future plans, and I'm sure you're looking to create a global brand here and bring big events. What would success look like to you in 5 years, in 10 years? What would success look like for you with this?
The success for me, if I were to lay it out from an MF Pro perspective as a promoter, is that we were able to unite all of the promoters together. Yeah. And that was really our goal when we were doing it in Saudi Arabia, was not to have, look, we're going to fight over a certain fighter and fight over a certain network and certain dates and certain sponsors maybe, but to unite the promoters to put on the best fights for the fans. The bottom line is our fans are who we work for. Regardless of where the big checks come from, the fans are who we work for. If the fans are content and the MF Pro Boxing brand becomes synonymous with great fights, exciting fights, fan favorite fights, and a fan experience at the events and with the fights, then that's success to me. And that's success to me.
Serving the fans, and you're certainly
fans,
doing
100%.
that in Fight One. So I want to congratulate you on this event. Best of luck with everything you're building, and thank you so much for taking the time to speak with me.
My pleasure.
Amer
Thank
Abdallah.
you. Thank you for
so
everything
much.
you're doing
Thank
also.
you.